In a move that has sent ripples across the globe, the United Kingdom has declared its readiness to fight alongside its allies to defend Taiwan. The announcement, delivered on July 28, 2025, was made by the UK Defense Secretary John Healey. He stood on the deck of Britain's most advanced aircraft carrier, HMS Prince of Wales, while it was docked in Darwin, Australia. His words were direct and left little room for misinterpretation. "If we have to fight, as we have done in the past, Australia and the UK are nations that will fight together," he stated, explicitly linking this historic bond to a potential conflict over the democratic island of Taiwan. This represents the most direct military commitment to Taiwan's defense ever offered by a major US ally, shifting the UK's position from one of strategic ambiguity to one of clear intent. The backdrop for this dramatic declaration was the largest military exercise in Australia's history. Known as Talisman Saber, the war games involve an impressive coalition of 19 nations and over 35,000 military personnel. These exercises are not merely for show. They are a complex simulation of a high-stakes conflict, widely understood to be the defense of a democratic island nation against a powerful aggressor. The drills span the vast expanse of the Pacific, incorporating live-fire exercises, amphibious landings, and sophisticated operations across land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. The presence of the HMS Prince of Wales, a multi-billion-pound warship leading a carrier strike group on a 9-month tour, underscores the immense financial and strategic commitment the UK is making to security in the Indo-Pacific region. This declaration marks a significant pivot in British foreign policy. For decades, the UK, like many Western nations, maintained a carefully constructed ambiguity over its potential role in a Taiwan conflict. Mr. Healey's statement effectively dismantles that position. By deploying its premier naval asset, loaded with F-35 stealth fighters, to the region for the first time in nearly 3 decades, London is signaling a long-term strategic reorientation. This Indo-Pacific tilt is now backed by the starkest possible language of military support. The message is aimed squarely at Beijing. The United Kingdom sees the security of Taiwan as intrinsically linked to its own interests and is prepared to act accordingly, alongside its oldest and most trusted partners. However, this bold British stance has created a noticeable divergence among allies. While the UK spoke of fighting together, Australian leaders have been far more cautious in their public statements. Despite co-hosting the massive war games and signing a new 50-year defence pact with Britain, known as the Geelong Treaty, Canberra has avoided matching London's explicit fighting talk. Australian officials have preferred to speak in broader terms, emphasizing the need to uphold the rules-based international order and find peaceful resolutions. This difference in tone highlights the complex diplomatic and economic pressures at play, particularly for a nation like Australia, which maintains a deep and vital trade relationship with China. The international focus on Taiwan is not just about defending a democracy, it is also about safeguarding the arteries of the global economy. The island holds a position of immense strategic and economic importance that far outweighs its physical size. The Taiwan Strait, the narrow body of water separating the island from mainland China, is one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. An estimated 40% of all global maritime traffic passes through this channel. Any conflict that disrupts or closes this waterway would trigger immediate and catastrophic consequences for global supply chains, affecting everything from consumer goods to energy supplies, and causing economic shockwaves that would be felt in every corner of the world. Beyond its role in global shipping, Taiwan is the undisputed global leader in a technology that powers the modern world, semiconductors. The island is responsible for producing a staggering 92% of the world's most advanced computer chips. These tiny, complex components are the essential brains behind everything from smartphones and cars to the sophisticated defense systems used by Western militaries. A Chinese takeover of Taiwan would give Beijing unprecedented control over this critical resource, creating a level of technological leverage that could fundamentally alter the global balance of power. The security of Taiwan is, therefore, directly linked to the technological independence and military capability of nations across Europe and North America. Beijing's government, however, views Taiwan through a very different lens. It considers the self-governing island a breakaway province that must be reunified with the mainland, a goal it is prepared to achieve by force if necessary. This long-standing position has been backed by a dramatic increase in military power and aggression. Over the past 15 years, China's defense budget has expanded by 300%. In recent months, its military, the People's Liberation Army, has conducted almost daily incursions into Taiwan's air and maritime space. These large-scale drills simulate a full-scale blockade and invasion, serving as a constant and intimidating reminder of Beijing's intentions and its rapidly growing capacity to act on them. This campaign of military pressure is designed to wear down Taiwan's defenses and demoralize its population, while also testing the resolve of the international community. China has repeatedly warned that any form of foreign military support for what it considers an internal affair constitutes a crossing of its red lines. The UK's recent declaration, made in such a high-profile setting, is a direct challenge to this position. It sets the stage for a tense geopolitical standoff, where the actions of one side are likely to be met with a firm reaction from the other, shrinking the space for diplomacy and increasing the risk of miscalculation in one of the world's most volatile flashpoints. The UK's forthright pledge has been met with a more reserved reaction from some of its closest partners, exposing subtle but significant cracks in Allied unity. While the United States officially maintains its long-held policy of strategic ambiguity, it has been quietly urging its allies to prepare for a potential conflict. Reports from earlier in July 2025 suggested Washington was actively pressuring partners to draw up contingency plans. Britain's announcement can be seen as a direct response to this call. However, Australia's reluctance to echo the UK's strong language reveals the intense pressures faced by nations in the region. Canberra's economic fate is deeply intertwined with China, which purchases around 80% of its crucial iron ore exports, creating a delicate balancing act between security alliances and economic realities. This divergence in messaging highlights a fundamental debate over the best way to prevent a conflict. Proponents of the UK's new, clearer stance argue that ambiguity is no longer a viable deterrent. Former UK Defense Secretary Gavin Williamson has stated that effective deterrence is about setting out the consequences of malign actions in no uncertain terms. From this perspective, leaving China to guess about the West's response is a dangerous gamble. A clear and credible threat of a joint military intervention, they argue, is the only language that Beijing will understand and respect. This approach is intended to make the cost of an invasion so high that Chinese leaders will be forced to reconsider. On the other side of the debate are critics who warn that such strong rhetoric is not a deterrent, but a provocation. Voices from outlets like the Morning Star have labeled the UK's position as dangerous saber-rattling that could inadvertently push the region closer to war. They argue that by drawing such a firm line, the UK and its allies are backing China into a corner, making it harder for Beijing to de-escalate without losing face. This could create a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the preparation for conflict makes the conflict itself more likely. The risk is that escalating words could lead to an accidental clash that spirals out of control. This debate places the United Kingdom in a central and potentially perilous position. Its policy is now more aligned with the hawkish views in Washington than with the more cautious approach of its regional partners in the Pacific. While the UK and Australia recently pledged to deepen relations with Taiwan and expressed grave concern over PLA activity, the difference in their public posture remains stark. The UK has committed to conducting more freedom of navigation operations in the Taiwan Strait, a direct challenge to China's territorial claims. This forward-leaning policy is a high-stakes gamble, betting that a show of strength will secure peace rather than ignite a war. The UK's bold new posture on Taiwan signals a profound shift with far-reaching implications for global security and the architecture of international alliances. This is more than just a statement. It is a declaration that the United Kingdom intends to be a significant and active military player in the Indo-Pacific for the foreseeable future. By committing its most powerful naval assets and its political capital to the region, Britain is sending a clear message to friends and foes alike. For allies like the United States and Japan, it is a welcome sign of burden sharing and a strengthening of the democratic coalition aimed at preserving the existing international order. For the world, the situation underscores the fragility of global peace and the interconnected nature of modern security. A conflict over Taiwan would not be a distant regional affair. Its impact on global trade, technology supply chains, and international law would be immediate and devastating for everyone. The UK's stance effectively internationalizes the dispute further, making it clear that a military assault on Taiwan would be seen as an attack on the fundamental principles of sovereignty and self-determination that underpin the global system. This raises the stakes for Beijing, but it also increases the potential for a wider, more catastrophic conflict involving multiple nuclear-armed powers. This development places a renewed focus on the strength and cohesion of Western alliances. The visible gap between the UK's explicit commitment and Australia's more measured tone will be closely watched in Beijing, Washington, and other world capitals. For the alliance to serve as a credible deterrent, unity is paramount. The coming months will likely see intense diplomatic efforts to align messaging and strategy among the UK, US, Australia, and other key partners like Japan and South Korea. The success or failure of these efforts will be a critical factor in determining whether deterrence holds or a new and dangerous chapter of global history begins. Ultimately, the UK's declaration has moved the world into a new and more uncertain phase of geopolitical competition. The window for preventing a conflict, as some British military experts have warned, may be closing, with some projecting a potential Chinese invasion attempt within the next 2 years. The UK has chosen a path of assertive deterrence, believing that clarity is safer than ambiguity. The world now watches and waits to see if this high-stakes strategy will successfully preserve peace in the Taiwan Strait, or if it will be remembered as a step on the road to a conflict that nobody can afford.